If you're an online course creator, agency owner, or coach, and you're running a team and you want them to be more open, you want them to share their experience and you want them to solve problems before they become a big problem, then this program or this episode is for you. Today, we're going to talk about how to make your check-ins seen as care rather than control so that people will reach out to you before there's a problem. This will be perfect for you guys who often have to tell your team twice or 3 times how to do something, and they're still not reaching up to your expectations. And you also want a team who can work autonomously with minimum guidance. So imagine this, you and I are going on a car ride. You're driving, I'm in the passenger seat, and we're going to you've invited me to come with you to your favorite restaurant. We cruise along, and every time you turn the car around the corner, you can see me kind of like tense up a bit and straighten out my legs. And I ask you, hey, could you speed up? And then I tell you, hey, could you turn right over here? Like, don't worry about Google Maps. And then you get to a roundabout and you see I'm kind of almost braking on my side, even though I don't have nothing to brake on. You could see like my body's just like strengthening out and you could see that I'm uncomfortable. And then once we roll into the parking spot you picked, I say, hey, park over there instead. What would be your reaction to that? You just invited me to a trip and I'm completely running over you, telling you how to do things, giving you details on how to run a car, like you know how to run a car. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel as a driver when you have me in the passenger seat? Do you feel trusted, competent, cared for, or do you feel controlled and watched? And the question is, the next ride, are you going to invite me to join? And if I join anyways, even though you didn't invite me, are you going to drive the way you drive, or are you going to change your way of driving to just don't make me question everything and panic and tell you what to do? So the question is, are you going to, do your normal driving, or are you going to adapt to the way you think I want you to drive? Because this is how many leaders do their check-ins. They check someone's work. I see you're driving a car, and then it's like, hey, you fix this, take here, park here, do this. But what if I, as the passenger, could talk to you in a sense where you felt like you want me to be on the ride? What if you, as a leader, could talk to your team or do the check-ins on your team in a way where they want you to do check-ins on them? So what if during our drive, instead of saying, can you speed up? I would tell you, hey, I think we need to go a little bit faster because we only have, 20 minutes to get to our destination and the meeting starts in 25. Or instead of saying, hey, turn right, don't listen to Google Maps, I would say, you know what? I drive often and up here, if you go straight here, there's going to be a bottleneck, even though Google Maps is saying it. So instead, I would suggest you go right. And instead of me saying, hey, park over there, I would say, you know what? I actually know around the corner, there's the free parking. What do you say we take that parking? So how does that make you feel? Does that make you feel like you want to invite me next time? Am I a better passenger now? And if I were your boss, would you be more comfortable with having me checking in on you? And would you change your behavior when I'm in your car? I think most people would say no. They would feel comfortable because they're like, oh, I get it. Yeah, free parking. Heck yeah, I want that too. Oh, there's a bottleneck. We're going around. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So there are a few things that I've done here that we're going to talk about. As a passenger, the difference between the first shitty way of being a passenger and the new good way of being a passenger is that, one, I added value to your trip. So I told you, hey, if you go straight here, you're going to get into a bottleneck and we're going to be late and it's going to suck. But if you go right, it's going to be faster. So now I'm not being just a, piece of crap. I'm actually like showing you the value of what I'm doing. And you reap the benefits instantly. So I'm adding value to our trip. Imagine if you could do that on your check-ins. Make people feel like, oh, when you come to check in on my work is easier and better. You're not here to point out mistakes. You're here to actually help me. You know what? I kind of want you here. I want to show you how you do things because maybe you'll figure out a way to do it better with me. So as a passenger, the second time, I removed obstacles. I made it easier for you. And I made you see the benefits. I hopefully made you feel like it's worth listening to me. That is not just me telling you what to do, but it's me helping you do your thing better. I'm a support for you. So now the question is, do you want my company now? So what can we learn from this little story? Well, I think there are a few things that are worth mentioning on this one. During your check-ins, when you're checking in on your team or task, whatever, one big job of ours is to find obstacles and remove them. Like the bottleneck. I should be able to anticipate that. And how do I heck to make sure my team can work at full capacity, going at the fastest speed possible? Well, I do that by seeing the obstacles and removing them for my team. That's my job. Yeah. I want a system where they can identify obstacles and I remove them as fast as possible. I don't want them to hide the obstacle and just like slug through them. Nobody benefits from that. Even if they make a mistake, even if they drove over a bump and punctured their wheel, I want them to let me know that they punctured a wheel so I can get them a new wheel. I don't want them to hide it and drive around a broken wheel. I speak to their benefits. That's the second thing I do. I speak to their benefits. What the heck are they getting out of this thing? Well, I'm getting them free parking. That's why I told them to go that way, because there's free parking over there. I'm a passenger who adds value to the trip. All of this, by the way, is inside the crystal clear delegation toolkit. So if you just go to sankasleadership.com/podcast, you will see the delegation tool, which is free to use. And as long as you fill that out, you focus on the red box, you will have all of this done. And the third thing I want to share with you during your check-ins, you are there to serve. That's why you're doing check-ins. You're not there to condemn or point out errors and mistakes. You're there to fix stuff. And if you can show them the benefits of your presence, you have so much to win. Like, honestly, there's so many gains to win from a team that is open and honest with the shits that's going on. Because if you can get them to a point where they're like, hey, dude, I screwed this up. I need your help to get back up to speed again. And they feel comfortable doing that and knowing that you will help them fix the problem, then your team will over-deliver every time. I promise you that. I've seen it so many times. The opposite is also true. If you build a team who hide their mistakes, you're basically screwed. They're going to blame it on each other. They're going to hide it. They're going to miss opportunities. You don't want that. So now you might be thinking, well, what do I do when they screw up? Because it's hard to hide it sometimes, right? I told you the story where we're driving and you were braking and you saw my body tense up. Like, that's just a physical reaction. There's not much I can do about that. Because that emotional response, it already signals to the driver that I'm not comfortable being here. It's like subconsciously giving feedback to the driver that I'm not liking what you're doing. And we do that all the time. When we have a meeting and we have someone like tell them what they're doing, and you could see in people's faces like, oh, and then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, good job. And there's like this weird thing going on. This is not good. You don't want that. And this creates distrust, because if they're doing something and you're doing this all the time, it's like, okay, obviously I'm doing something wrong and I'm a shitty driver. The thing is, we can't isolate ourselves from our emotional response. We're going to react whatever way we react, but we can isolate ourselves from the trigger. So how many of you guys have been riding a bus ride in the like Peruvian mountains or the Colombian mountains or whatever, maybe in French Alps? So you're going on this freaking super little road on a big bus and you take a left turn. And if you look right, you're looking over a big cliff, which is like 200 meters, certain death, bye-bye. So you have the option here. You can either look out to the right, to the abyss and to the certain death. And every time you look there, you shrug and you pull back and you're like, oh my God, I don't want that to happen. Or you could look the other way. You could look uphill and see where you're going. It's the same trip. But now the person who's driving doesn't feel every time like you're about to get a mental breakdown. So the thing here with the bus example is that either you decide to get on the bus because it's safe enough. It's like when we talked about rappelling before. It is safe enough to get on the bus, and then it's up to you to kind of like handle your emotions. Either you sit at the back of the bus and you look left so you don't see the cliff and you limit your emotional response, or you get off the bus because it's unsafe. And getting off the bus in this sense is saying no to the task. Like we're not doing this. It's too risky. It's too big of a risk, so we have to risk minimize and we have to do something different. But if you decide to get on the bus, if you decide to delegate, you got to let people handle it. And you have to put yourself in a position where you limit your emotional response. That means you shouldn't check in on them all the time. You have your triggers in your flow chart, in your workflow, which means I'm going to check work here and here. Between those spots, I'm not going to care. I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to let them do their thing. And I'm going to give them feedback. They're going to have the ability to improve. But in between those triggers, in between those feedback points, they're going to do their thing. And that's the cool part. And it requires a lot of emotional resilience, a discipline to make sure you can focus on your thing. Don't look outside the bus windows down the hill if that's the thing that makes you scared. Either you get off the bus, you stop the task, or you trust the driver, people doing the task. Those are your options. Either you get in the harness with me and we rappel safely down and you trust me doing it, or we don't do it at all. Hope that makes sense. So that's basically how you do it. It's not very complicated, but if you see yourself where you want to be a good passenger, you want to do check-ins in a sense where they see the value of you being there, you're removing obstacles, and you're making their lives easier, then they will tell you before things become a problem, which means they can work at a higher speed and you can delegate more complex tasks and you could have more free time and your life will be even more amazing than it already is. And then you do that with one person, two people, three people, four people, however many you want, and you will break through any financial plateau that you have. I will promise you that. And leading will become fun. This is a good one. I love this. This is such a leadership heavy aspect of being a CEO, being a business owner. And it's so important to make people want to have you around. If you want to learn more about this stuff, go to our little community. You will get free resources, training, all the tools. You could see this on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify. And please reach out to me on LinkedIn if you want to have a chat. We do like weekly lives and stuff like that, which are super fun. And thank you so much for listening and see you next time.